Hey everyone, in this video today, I'm going to talk to you all about how much it costs me to insure my cars and my house in Texas. So to start off, variables are key in insurance. I know some people say they pay a lot, and I know some people that say they pay a little bit. And for me, between two of my cars and 12 years of driving history, of which all of those years were insured by some carrier, with no gaps in between, and the fact that I've had no accidents and no tickets or anything like that from any police officers in the past, that has helped my driving history. So all in all, I pay about $1,300 a year in insurance to my auto insurance company. And the breakdown is like this. So for my 2014 Maserati Ghibli, I actually have comprehensive insurance for obvious reasons. The car is a bit more valuable, and I believe that the cost I pay in insurance, the difference between liability and comprehensive, actually makes sense for that car. Now for my second car, I have a 2004 Toyota Prius, which is a bit older vehicle. And that car is so low in value to the point that if I were to pay the additional in comprehensive over liability, that actually wouldn't make sense. I would actually just self-insure, just buy a new car if something were to happen to that particular vehicle. Now from a coverage perspective, I do hold $100,000, $300,000 in terms of the bodily injury protection, and then $100,000 in the property damage liability. Then from the personal injury protection, that's $2,500. From the uninsured motorist bodily injury, that's $30,000, $60,000. And then the property damage for uninsured motorists, that's $25,000. And as you heard from earlier, comprehensive and collision, I do have that on the Maserati, but not the Prius. And for that, I do have a $1,000 deductible. For me, I do have at least $1,000 saved up somewhere, to the point that if something were to happen to that car, I can just easily take $1,000 and then pay it on the spot there. So that is how my insurance is structured from a car perspective. On the home side, the particular house that I bought was about like $260,000. Let's just throw a value out there. And of that, I do have the coverage of the dwelling to be at least that, or at least more than that, especially as the cost of materials goes up. It's definitely going to be expensive to replace that house if it were to be totally torn down by some sort of tornado. Now, another thing that I've learned over the years of living here in Texas is the deductibles are pretty important, and considering the deductibles versus how much you actually pay in the premium. So for this particular house that I'm living in, I pay about $1,800 a year in insurance. And my current deductible is 1% of my dwelling protection. So let's say I have a dwelling protection of $300,000. That means if a hailstorm were to strike my house and then totally destroy my roof, I'd have to come out of pocket $3,000. Now, in different parts or different insurance programs, they do have like 1%, 2%, 4%. Some even have something as low as like $1,000 deductible. So of course, there's different deductibles for different budgets and all that. But of course, as the deductibles get lower, and of course, if the area is a high storm, high risk area, that can definitely affect the values. I've actually experienced a roof replacement in the past. One mistake that I made when I moved to Texas initially is I selected a 4% deductible because I thought that it would make sense from a savings perspective. Well, hailstorm hits, I actually have to replace the whole roof, and now I have to pay 4% of my home's value for that particular roof that I replaced, which thankfully the house wasn't that expensive because my out-of-pocket came out to be about $4,500, and that was already at 4%. Imagine if I had a house that was like $1 million and covered at $1 million, 4% of that would have probably thrown me off for the roof replacement. So those are things to definitely consider. Nowadays, all my properties in Texas, 1% deductible all the way. That's something that I can definitely afford. And then of course, for people investing in Texas, that's something to definitely consider from a cash flow perspective as well. Another point to consider is if a 1% deductible happens to cost more over time, including the 1% deductible and the premium, versus having a higher deductible and a lower premium. So definitely consider all those different options. Nowadays, when I ask my insurance agent, I usually like to check with them and see, okay, what is the premium for the 1%, the 2%, the 4%, and then what does the deductible look like? And then I do a comparison just to see how likely am I to actually pay that out if something were to happen. Of course, insurance do have their way to factor that in, but for me personally, I factor that in as well. So on $280,000, That's my coverage A protection. And then my coverage B protection is like other structures. So like pool or shed or that stuff, that's covered to $28,000. Then of course you got the personal injury protection or personal property protection. So that's $140,000. That's supposed to cover like the TVs, the refrigerators and all that stuff, but definitely ask the insurance agent as many questions as you can. For me personally, I like to just make sure that I'm covered for all the different things, including like the food in the refrigerator if that were to go bad because of a storm. Other than that, from a personal liability perspective, I do have $500,000 in coverage there, and in medical payments to others about $5,000. So that's definitely stuff that I've weighted the cost and benefit of. I thought of getting the absolute cheapest insurance, but of course, if something were to happen in my house, that's something where I'd like to be protected as well. So considering, things like a pool or a trampoline, those are things that insurance were to factor in as well, that even I factor in about the likelihood and all that stuff. So all in all, that's how much I pay in insurance between my auto insurance policy and my home insurance policy. I hope that you all find this useful and that you can find some value out of it. So please definitely drop a like down below if this helps you out. Comment down below with your thoughts, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.